Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Good evening and welcome to Plank of the Week. It's Friday night and you know what to do. For the next hour, we will be as judgmental as we want to be, even though we're not supposed to do that, so you don't have to. We will tell you who has won Plank of the Week by the end of the show. And I'm delighted to say that we have imported some incredible people for tonight's show. We have two doctors. I can only show you one of them. Dr. Renee Hoenderkamp is here. Jeremy Carl is back with us. I'm very happy to see you. The other doctor, of course, David Bull, sitting over there with Esther Krakue, who's also a regular on the show. So welcome to all of you. Here's what they're going to be playing for. It is, of course, the Plank of the Week. It makes that lovely little noise. Put it down there. We're going to get right to it. Dr. Renee, what have you got for us for your first plank?
So I'm going to start this by saying that as a mother of a mixed-race child who the world identifies as black, I am outraged by the Theatre Royal in Stratford for having a blackout evening, which, as far as I can see, is the most racist and divisive thing that we can do in a society where we're trying to make everyone, including black people, equal and welcome and inclusive.
Diversity and inclusion, isn't it?
Absolutely. And this is more like apartheid. One way. I tried to imagine if the Royal Opera House sent me an email saying that we're showing Aida next week and I'm afraid only white people can come, how well that would have gone down. And I have a feeling...
Well, it's a bit like that, the opera, then.
But I have a feeling that it wouldn't have gone down so well.
No.
This is outrageous.
It is ridiculous.
And I'm going to go.
But why are they doing it, though?
Yes.
You got a ticket?
I have.
I put this the other night, and Nicola thought, I said, if it was round the other way, it would be outrage.
It would be called racist.
And she said, and I quote, "But you've had that for years. You've not allowed black people to do and go to certain things for years. You're getting a taste of your own medicine." Is in essence what?
Which is bizarre because you never put up an ad saying. Anyway, that's very strange, especially coming from a white person.
And also, because we used to put white 3-year-olds up chimneys, should we now put black 3-year-olds up chimneys? Of course not.
And also, the whole point about this, they said that actually black people...
came down.
But they said black people will experience this in a different way. And I was saying to a friend of mine, why can't we go as friends and experience it differently and then share our experience?
Are you not creating the very thing that you are trying to end? You're putting up barriers and creating racial issues.
Well, additionally, this play is about 300 years of Afro-American history. So surely white people should watch that.
That's what I was about to say. So the website says specifically that white people are welcome, but they would prefer for that one night for it to be black people, black identifying people, which is weird.
Well, I'm
because
black
a white person can
can you identify?
Because it would enhance the black experience.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing we have to be aware of is the fact that this is clearly an American play, and it's an American importation because they've already done this across cities in the US. And the reason why it's so controversial here is because we don't have the same conversation around race and race relations as they do in the US.
Because race in America is a massive problem.
It's a completely different topic. If you talk about black in the UK, you're talking about black African, black Caribbean, black British. What are you talking about? In the US, it's a completely different conversation, and that's why it's so divisive. Obviously, you can't justify this, but I also think there's an added benefit of obviously the PR around it. We're talking about it.
Then you say that's worse.
I tell you what I can do. I can show you. I can do better than that. Show you what it's actually like. So if you are going to go, this is what you can expect.
What I want for people to be like, oh, I've never seen a show like this in my whole life. Like, if you hate it, cool, bet, I love it, give me the hate. But like, if you love it, I want it to be like, oh my God, I've never seen a rap concert this big. I've never seen two actors do something.
Get ready to have fun. Get ready to make a lot of noise.
So
he needs to do his shirt up, doesn't he?
He's a very exciting little guy.
It's literally my idea of hell, that.
Yeah.
Apparently it's terrible. Yeah. That's what I've heard.
I know, the play that no one wanted to see.
I thought it was a mistake. It should have been Rambo.
Yeah, Rambo. Well, there's
Rambo and Bones.
Tango and Cash. I remember that film. That was good. Do you remember that?
I think it sends out.
Well, luckily, we've been saved.
This is brilliant.
Because we've got another clip here, which you know about.
I do know
on your
about.
show. I think it's the first time we've actually had a clip of somebody on the show, on another show. I don't know how it happened.
He's everywhere.
I don't know how it happened. Anyway, look, here's David
like
Bull on TalkTV with Russell Quirk.
David, when I saw this yesterday, I decided that I would ensure that this particular performance on July the 5th is one of diversity. So there were a number of front row tickets still available on their website yesterday. I've bought them all.
Right, OK. You put your money where your mouth is. And just in terms of that, how's that going to go down? They're trying to create this one-off event and you've ruined it.
Well, I guess, but it's like Mrs. Parks on the back of the bus, isn't it?
Not really like Mrs. Park. I think he's made a bit of a leap there.
I think it's time we accept.
But you're going with him, aren't you?
I'm going with him. I think it's time we accept.
How did you get invited?
Well, because he basically bought all of the front row tickets and then...
Did he invite
his
you?
friends.
No, he didn't actually.
I haven't invited you.
I didn't know about it.
Russell Quite, you're never working again, let me tell you. What's going on?
Not coming on my show.
No.
But we shouldn't forget that whatever people want us to believe, that the UK is probably the most tolerant and diverse society across Europe, for sure. It's the most hospitable, the most welcoming, and I don't care what anyone says, it is. The stats are there to prove it. And this just rubs it the other way.
Yeah. To be honest, I think also it actually does a disservice to the people who would genuinely stand up and say racism is something they've experienced and is a problem. That's not going to help diversity. That is not going to help education. That is going to put the backs up of normal people who go, that's fundamentally wrong.
So on Twitter, certainly many people were kicking off and saying, right, this does it. And so people were venting their spleen as a result of this. And actually, I saw some really unpleasant racist comments as a result of
that. Is the trouble with stuff like this. It doesn't encourage anybody to feel good about anything. It just makes everybody get angry. But speaking of people getting angry, Jeremy Kyle, you have the Just Stop Oil Brigade.
Honestly, I try really, really hard to be as... I'm sick to death of these... I called them the unwashed middle class the other day, because of course you never get to see them in half term, do you? Because they're all in their villas in Mallorca.
White middle class.
It came to a point the other day, driving in, and again being stuck, when these unwashed oiks decided to take over. I think it was London Bridge, Tower Bridge, and maybe I don't know.
Blackfriars,
Yeah, so 3 bridges. So they do all that, and then let's be perfectly honest. The police don't have a great public opinion at this moment. You look at the Met, you look at the disaster over that poor Nicola Bulley case up in Lancashire. Last night of the story about Cardiff. Oh, we forgot we were chasing them anyway. And then you see the worst thing I've ever seen. So all those oiks are sitting in the road, stopping, and I will say this until I'm out of breath, stopping everyday people from going to work, from taking their kids to school, from going on a doctor's appointment if you can bloody well get one, going to hospital, whatever, right? They're just left there. But the woke police are go, oh, that's right. Some bloke gets out of his van, because he might be self-employed and he might be quoting for a job or he might be losing something, or he might be picking up his kid who's being bullied, and he pushes one out the way. And PC Plod, who haven't even moved, right? They spring into action like they're gazelles, pin this bloke down. He was handcuffed, I don't understand. It's like the AGM at Shell. These protesters are getting away with hell, and we need to be stronger. They're a disgrace. Right. Be gone!
Well, let's do the assault by the police on an innocent bystander. Let's have a look at that. See, that is shocking. The way they've got hold of him there is shocking. You didn't need to use that kind of force.
And on a serious note, without making it less about Just Stop Oil and more about the police, which is what it's morphed into, there are new powers. The police are able to stop people walking 100%. Slowly or disrupting a highway. There is an example of Just Stop Oil getting away with it, whilst an innocent bystander gets cuffed.
Do you know what the problem is, don't you? Don't forget now that all of these police have to have a degree. So they're young and they've gone through the indoctrination process that is university now on all of this oil stuff, trans stuff. They're just bought into it. They're captured. So that's why they stand by and let it happen.
But I then spoke to a friend of mine who is a police officer, and he said actually there's no diktat from on high, so they don't know what they are allowed to do, even though the bill has gone through and they're allowed to do.
Yeah, but funnily enough, after we made such a big fuss about all of that stuff that happened and the guy getting held by the police, the following day they actually started arresting people. So they are able to do it. Yeah,
is this one of those things that I find very embarrassing? Like this is one of the few things about this country that does embarrass me. Because why wouldn't they do this in the US? Because they can carry guns in America and you might get shot. Why wouldn't they do this in China? You really don't want to try that. They don't even do this in other like France, Italy, because they will literally drag off the road.
Well, you know what? We're going to show you a clip of them arresting people actually in London, right? And here it is.
Guys, did you read out the Section 12 conditions?
This is already read out, yes it was.
They've been read out already by experience.
He talks to you as officers.
No, he was talking to you.
I didn't hear anything about a Section 12. I didn't hear anything.
But also, here's what they do in Germany whenever they have a problem.
Marvellous. That's it.
What's up?
The thing thing is, for me, the reason I wanted to do Just Stop Oil is because I cannot comprehend how we seem... you should absolutely be able to protest. But if you think you're going to garner any enthusiastic response from the British public when you are making our lives more and more difficult, they're wrong. And I'm sorry, but the police just stand by. Maybe they are indoctrinated. Maybe, your mate, right? They rushed to arrest the innocent bystander.
Also, but look at
what was that dictate?
But look at the coronation. We didn't see any trouble, did we? Because they were able to jump at the slightest thing to get rid of protesters. So why aren't they doing it?
But even further, in Germany today, they have actually raided 15 senior activists' houses to actually try and stop plans for the future.
Yeah, because they're not protesting really anymore. They're just being a nuisance.
Yeah.
They're not proving a point. They're not saving the planet. They're not making everybody change their mind about anything. They're not getting people to stop driving.
They just say Just Stop Oil.
I think they're doing an absolute... I think everybody's going, sod them and sod fossil fuels. I just want to go to work. I'm being completely serious.
Exactly right. But once in a while, they do different types of opportunistic protests. Have a look at this.
Go to hell, shell, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Go to hell, shell, and don't you come back no more.
Now listen, don't you say we're not free. There's new operations in the old North.
It's a no from me.
I mean,
Come on,
that
push
is
your button.
possibly the most pathetic thing I've ever seen. Isn't that ridiculous?
But I'm glad they've got the time.
Go to hell, shell. Well, they're up all night thinking about that.
Well, obviously, yes.
And without wanting to upset anybody, that will probably get through on Britain's Got Talent because they're protesters. They might be crap, but, they're doing their best.
They're not very diverse, though. They're all white.
Don't they seem like misfits? Like the kind of weird kids you
They're
see
all like doing the old
just
sort
be
of drama schools.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
I said unwashed. I just think that they're all vegetarian. They look to me like they all don't eat meat. They wash your cake. They go rambling a lot.
Yes.
And they read atlases.
And they don't shave under their arms either.
No.
I'm talking about the women.
Especially the women.
And they knit their
know
own.
how I feel about that.
The men do
Yeah,
shave
the
under
women
their arms.
don't.
The women
Yeah.
don't. That's how you know.
Anyway, Just Stop Oil, planks entirety of the week.
Just stop bloody annoying everybody.
Yeah,
I think
stop
would be
it.
Good. Right, Esther, down to you.
Yes. So this
Christianity.
story. Oh, I know. Well, it's not
This would
even.
be a
It's
tough
not.
one.
It's not even just that. It's a teacher, Joshua Sutcliffe, who has been struck off. The TRA upheld the decision, which is the regulating body that regulates.
I didn't even know there was a regulating body.
It's incredible
Never
because they're
know,
always on
would you?
strike.
They should
Anyway,
strike off a lot more teachers.
let's not go there.
They can't because they're on strike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
But they upheld a decision to basically bar him from teaching mainly because he refused to call a student by their chosen pronouns.
Yes.
So he misgendered a student. And also he has certain opinions about, gay marriage and all of that, which, he's entitled to have, but mainly because he misgendered the student. And I don't understand why. And I'm going to bring it back to this. Why do we need to know this? I think your views on marriage, whether you're pro-gay marriage or whatever, and your views on your gender identity should be in the private space. They should be relegated to the
as long as that's where they stay, I suppose.
No, exactly, because I think they're in the same vein. Just as a teacher can't go and stand in front of his students and give their opinion on abortion, for instance, you shouldn't be able to pressure someone.
Yeah, but they do though. That's the thing.
Well, yeah, but
if your opinions are on the left, I mean, most my friends who have got kids at school and my own kids at school are constantly being told about climate change, constantly being told about the Daily Mail being a horrible paper, and constantly being told not to vote
And I
Tory.
don't mind them thinking that, but I do think there should be absolutely a greater distinction between the public and the private space and what should stay in which space.
But then surely that also pertains to the pupils suddenly deciding that other people have to call them something that they are not.
Exactly, absolutely.
So I didn't really have a problem with the pronoun thing, but what I do have a problem with, well, I didn't really, because these children were
I'll tell you a
under
story
18.
in a minute.
And anyway,
Change your
just in terms of what he did, he has form here. So he was expressing the fact that he thinks homosexuality is abhorrent, and he told these young people, and some of them may well be struggling with their own sexuality, and it's totally unacceptable.
Well, he was on Piers Morgan Uncensored this week, and he slightly dropped the ball in terms of trying to make out how reasonable he was, because I'm afraid he started saying some quite strange things. Have a look at this.
For adultery, you think it's right to stone people to death?
I think that...
As they do in Saudi Arabia, for example. Do you?
All sin deserves the death penalty. All sin is punishable by death.
Right. Joshua, that's nuts, mate.
And that was, of course, when he was calling for people to be stoned to death for committing adultery.
Yeah, idiot. So the only thing that I would the only thing that I would say, and I've told this before, my daughter, who's 17 now, when she went to this school and she was 13, her new school, I think I've told you this before, there were 30 of them in the year. Within 6 weeks, 11 of the 30, so more than a third, were seeing a school psychologist because, let me get this out, they were questioning their sexuality.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to nail this. I absolutely agree with you. Kids are struggling in any which way. But I have this inherent fear inside me that for whatever reason, not the media, because it's trendy, cool, or everybody, that people are like sheep. And I think we're getting to a point where teachers are too scared to say anything, where parents are kept in the dark, and it frightens me. That doesn't mean, before anybody complains, that being transgender or being homosexual, whatever, that's fine. But why 11 out of 30? Come on.
Dr. Renee and I will agree on this. The fact is that at this age, you're very impressionable, and so it's very difficult.
You are exploring your sexuality.
You are exploring yourself, and therefore you shouldn't label them. And therefore, because the minute you have labelling, you have stigma, you have deviance as a result of all of that. So it's really important that children are allowed to be children and grow up.
And let's not forget that Dr. Hilary Cass, the paediatrician, has done a report on this and has said very clearly that allowing children to even socially transgender, so call themselves by the opposite sex, wear different clothes, is actually damaging. These are children. We need to protect them. We need to take it out of education.
I worry about social media
The reality
Yes.
is, I don't think what your gender identity, your pronouns, or whatever is anyone's business, particularly your teachers, particularly people that are not your family members.
But you're making
that's
it their business
not
if the
no one
teachers
else's
are too
business.
scared.
I
I'm not
don't
sticking up
even
for
want to
this
go into the morality of it, because you know my thoughts on it. I just don't think I need to know that. If I haven't asked you for your pronouns, please don't tell me. Don't ask me to call you by anything other than your name, because I want to do it.
I mean, it would be nice.
There should be some rules that are manageable.
How about these for rules? Actually teach kids English, teach them maths,
That'd
teach
be
them where, Iraq is, teach them geography, teach them the history of various things, like maybe the Second World War. I mean, there was a study done recently where half of 18-year-olds didn't know that Britain had won the Second World War. Or the Allies, whatever you want to call it.
What chance have you got when our main state broadcaster, I'll call it that, what do they call the Dam Busters raid? Infamous. You've got no chance. I'm not sticking up for that guy. He's completely fundamentally wrong with his views. But there comes a point. Well, you wouldn't want to be a teacher, would you? Even if you get 19 weeks holiday, you can't fart in public without...
He needs to go and join the Taliban.
And
that's what they think.
Let's not forget that with all of this inclusivity and letting these children be what they want, their mental health is not improving.
100%.
It's getting worse.
Because the adults have left the room.
Who's the more decorated doctor? Have you ever asked that?
I haven't asked that question.
Well, it depends how you define that. I suppose Renee is more hands-on.
More decorative. She's more decorative, I'd say.
You're what?
I'm just much older.
Yeah.
Not as much.
Or certainly I qualified much earlier.
Well, luckily this is not a doctor's surgery,
Isn't
so
it?
I'm afraid you're not in charge.
Let's be honest, we wouldn't be here.
No,
we wouldn't be getting an appointment.
No, you wouldn't.
You can't. No, you'd
you
have to do it
definitely
on
wouldn't.
Zoom, wouldn't you? Now, who's your first nominee?
Oh, mine. I'd like to nominate Keir Starmer.
Well done.
Well, if I can explain why.
A regular feature.
Well, I'd like to explain why, because obviously the NHS, we talk a great deal about this, is in terrible crisis. 8 to 12 million people waiting for appointments, elective procedures and all the rest of it. The fact is we only have 123,000 doctors. We're short of 12,000 hospital doctors. We've seen 1,200 GP practices close, and also by 2030, a quarter of the population won't have a GP.
No.
But Keir Starmer...
Let's just shut it down, shall we?
Yes, no. But Keir Starmer, Keir Starmer has the answer.
Which is?
Which is to move from analogue to digital, to move from hospital to community and sickness to prevention.
Well done.
He doesn't want hospitals, according to him. He also doesn't want us to be sick. He wants us to prevent sickness. Right. All of this is wonderful. There is no detail. I have absolutely no idea what he's talking about.
Well, also, if it comes to an election, he'll have changed his mind by then anyway. So all of those things you just said he wants, he won't want, because he had one of those last year.
He has. We don't know where he stands on anything. And
He's got a lot of problems.
He'll just, every once in a while, he'll just come out with these kind of outbursts saying, oh, we should do this, okay, how? And then he's just, blank.
No,
he doesn't have anything.
I'm not going to defend him at all. It's quite interesting, right? So if you look at, he's done a U-turn on university tuition fees. He wants to enfranchise 16-year-olds who can't even, work out what they are to sign. All of that, right?
You can't decide whether we should be in the EU or not.
So I'm doing this debate the other night, and I'm going, precisely, this guy, the brighter the light is shone on him in the next 2 years as we get nearer and nearer to this election, I think he's going to crack. Other people are saying, yes, but this shows that he's listening. This shows that he's worked out. Who'd have thought, by the way, can I just throw this in the mix? Who'd have thought last week, right? The Tory government, the highest tax rate ever in the history of the world, And old dodgy Sir Softy, as I call him, is saying, let's build houses on green belts. There's not much between them.
No, let's see how good he is when he gets criticised by a member of the public. This is up in Liverpool when he got absolutely monstered by this Liverpudlian woman. Have a look.
We may as well have a Tory if we have a person like you who lies to the party. It's dishonesty.
Thank you very much.
And our health services go right
much.
down the pan. And you have a big responsibility, the working class people of this country.
Can you move back, please?
Excuse me. You'll just don't be getting physical with
I'm not
me.
touching you. Can you move back then, please?
You're touching my breast.
Touching my breast?
Well, he's got no ideas.
No,
it's all ethereal. But it's all ethereal
His
nonsense.
face is literally, he's got, I mean, any smart, clever, charismatic politician would have said something back to her.
I feel sorry
sitting
for
there
him,
frozen in the spot.
I think he was. I feel sorry for him. He wasn't ready. No, it's not nice to be accosted by a disgruntled member of the public. That's what that's what being in the in the comments is for. He should be getting that.
Yeah.
In the comments.
Should be getting that in
public.
public.
It shouldn't be in public. No, it should be.
I would only repeat what I just said. I think there's a cigarette paper between him and Sunak. I think it is. I think that there's no character. There's no personality. There's no verve. You're all going to go, Boris. Boris would have had an answer. Even Blair would have had an answer.
No,
They're as boring as each other, both
Why
of
would a
them.
decent person want to be a politician if you can be accosted by members of the public in that way? I completely agree.
No, I think
he doesn't know what he's
can be
talking about.
accosted by members of the public.
But
I actually think.
Well, do you know what we've got? Here's what we've got. What we've got is we've got a Prime Minister who's pretending to be a Conservative, and you've got Leader of the Opposition who's pretending not to be.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And that
they're both the
was
same.
as frustrated as everyone else in this country. The fact is there are no solutions, and you're right.
There are always solutions. We've always got solutions. This is what we do here on Plank of the Week. We're going to have solutions. Coming up, we're going to talk about a television channel that's had a bit of trouble lately, ITV, and Cornwall Council, where apparently you don't know how to switch the lights off. I'm surprised I know how to switch them on, to be honest. This is Plank of the Week. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. We're already quite some way in, and it's looking good so far. I'm not sure if I can pick a winner yet, but it's my turn. And I have to say, it's been quite a tumultuous couple of weeks for one particular television channel. They've had a bit of difficulty with one of their presenters, in fact, with more than one of their presenters. And obviously, Jeremy Kyle here doesn't want to say too much, but obviously, we will be seeking his advice at certain points of this conversation. I am talking, of course, about ITV. Your former alma mater, because it took until Saturday. I was backing the fact that Schofield would leave about a week ago Monday. I didn't think they'd bring him back in for the Monday. Nobody really knows what it's all about, do they? Nobody really understands exactly what the trouble is, and we're not going to be looking into that now.
No.
But we await developments. But apparently, they waited until Saturday, did another whole week of sort of rather ridiculous programmes with Holly Willoughby. Apparently, they haven't been speaking to each other apart from when they're reading the auto cue, which must be quite strange.
What can I say? What am I allowed to say?
So, Jerry's just consulting his lawyers. Here's the thing. Philip Schofield has apparently left this morning. And of course, having worked there for 21 years, it was only right that he should be given a great tribute by his fellow presenters. And let's have a look at what they said about him.
Now, we can't start today's show without paying tribute to the man who spent the last 2 decades sitting on the This Morning sofa, Philip Schofield.
So, as a show, everyone on and off screen at ITV and This Morning want to say a huge thank you to Phil.
We all know he's one of the best live television broadcasters this country has ever had.
Wow.
And that's why he's gone. Because he's that good.
Did you
you can't work with him because you're in his shadow all the time and he makes you look useless. I'm afraid we have to say bye-bye. I mean, I've been fired from jobs before. I've never had a tribute like that.
It's not you, it's me.
It's like he died.
It is actually.
I literally thought that's his video obituary.
Yeah, so I think once again, and we've said this before, since the Piers Morgan era, and even before that, they haven't exactly been good at looking after people.
You all right there, Jezza?
They haven't been good at it. So, once again, they haven't been good at it here. They've made a complete dog's breakfast of getting rid of somebody that they wanted to get rid of, who they were obviously too frightened to get rid of because he brought lawyers in. And I don't really understand why it took this long.
And what that's done is it's galvanised the public. So whereas people
they lost,
that's
the other thing, they lost 200,000 viewers.
And you've got people out there now who are supporting Phil Schofield, but they don't know what's done. There are. There's a big movement online now because they feel a bit sorry for the way he's been treated.
Well, of course, he couldn't even say goodbye, could he? He was literally out the building.
It was also done on a Saturday, right? Which presumably they thought was a good day to bury bad news. Or maybe they were expecting something in one of the Sunday papers.
That's what, possibly.
Yeah. Anyway, nobody knows what's going to happen to Holly Willoughby now. But all I can say is that, we thought long and hard about this on the Plank of the Week committee and said, it's really ITV that the plank's here. Isn't it?
Well, I think so, because...
What's wrong with you? What's wrong with her?
We can't...
He's doing this.
He's not doing anything.
That's the point.
Is there anything you'd like to say, Jeremy?
I mean... There is plenty.
Brief statement.
You know me.
Yes.
You're my mate.
I am.
There is plenty that I could say, but I won't.
OK. It's a fair enough comment.
For now.
I think...
And also, I think ITV have to be the plank, Mike, because we don't actually know what Philip's done.
No.
Nobody knows.
You have to make... I will say that. You have to make that, but it's very easy, isn't it? Everything is alleged.
Yeah.
And you have to make that.
It is. Let's see what James Well makes of it all. Have a look at this.
Don't feel sorry for Philip Schofield. He's been paid mega bucks, more than anyone else, for 20-odd years. And I have no idea why the people at ITV kept him for so long.
Well, James is in no doubt that he should have gone sooner.
If your cameraman fixes onto my face one more time, I'm going.
But the funny thing is, right, and here's where we all know that the business is a very odd one that we all work in, whether it's the written media, the television media, the radio media. Their star completely fell into the river and into the gutter when they jumped the queue at Westminster to watch, to go ahead of everybody, even though there were other people that did it. That was the end, the beginning of the end. And as Kevin O'Sullivan has said in the past, whatever you do in Britain, don't jump a queue, because you will be hated for the rest of time.
We do queues well, don't we?
We do. Well, some people were queuing up for 10 hours, 11 hours, 12 hours. Anyway, we await to see the latest developments from ITV. But planks definitely this week, for sure.
I thought Renee, you did. Can I just say, I thought you did that brilliantly.
Thank you very much. Dr. Renee, one of the two doctors. What do you got for us?
Oh, I'm glad that's over. Oh, Jesus. I'm all right now.
You are.
Yeah.
I want to move on to Childline, and I'm going to nominate Childline this week. So, Childline this week has been exposed by James Esses, who used to work for them, and his contract was terminated.
James who?
James Esses.
SS?
SS.
OK.
E-S-S-E-S.
Interesting
when
name.
he worked for them a couple of years ago.
Did they? SS Titanic.
Sounds very Spanish.
SS Titanic. Oh, God, I hope this part nothing.
Anyway.
Where he raised his concerns 2 years ago that there was a massive increase in children approaching Childline because they felt that they didn't know what their gender was. Right. And he wasn't happy with A, that increase not being flagged, and B, how it was being dealt with. Right. So now he has just exposed this week that in Childline, on their chat rooms, there are children as young as 10 asking how to get breast binders. These are girls who want to bind their breasts, which is dangerous when you're very young. And
do you have any breasts at 10?
Some girls do now. Okay. And also asking how they can get puberty blockers. And they are being advised by people in the chat rooms and by moderators in there. Oh, no, sorry, not being advised by moderators, but they're supposed to moderate every
They're not moderating, isn't that the
They're
point?
not moderating it. They're being advised to go behind their parents' backs to get the puberty blockers and where they can bind binders from. Now, this is supposed to be an organisation that protects the child safeguarding aspect of our lives. Yeah. And instead of doing that and flagging these children up to people who might be able to help them in whatever way, they're just letting them get on with it and letting them chat amongst themselves and letting them transition without their parents knowing. It's a disgrace.
Can I just say, because I didn't know too much about this story, but Childline presumably was set up as an organisation to a lifeline, if you want, for kids in abusive relationships to actually phone confidentially. So there's a line, is there not, between a child could go to Childline and feel that they can say anything. Is there not a responsibility on Childline if there is a serious issue Do they then contact parents? What's the rule?
No, they don't. They just help these kids chat away amongst themselves in these chat rooms.
That's dangerous.
And go down these routes. And the one thing we know is that most of
Because how do they know, for example, that not everyone in there is a child either? I mean, they don't know who's even in there, do they?
Why is anyone else having this conversation with children other than their families?
Yes.
Well,
that's the question.
See, I say this, and then people say you can't have that, and I'll probably end up with egg on my face. I would hope, as a parent of more than Boris Johnson, I'm joking, 5, that I would know. But you're a parent, sometimes you don't. But you have to put the hours in. And I'm not saying our kids might not phone Childline. It just frightens me that people can make
not all children can talk to their parents for lots of reasons, can they, in a dysfunctional family?
I get that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But also, the bigger issue for me is why on earth are these children actually knowing about chest binding? Why do they know about this? Why do they know about hormone
And the
blockers?
other issue is this.
Who's pushing this information?
The other issue is this.
Is that school? Is it school?
School,
Well, their
TikTok,
friends,
TikTok, social media.
Yeah.
We know now from very good studies, lots of them, that between about 73 and 94, depending on the studies, % of these kids, if left to go through puberty on their own, without people pushing them one way or another, will actually settle with their biological sex. 60% of them will be gay. But we're not doing that. We're interfering before they get the chance to do that.
Yeah. It's quite interesting, isn't it, that line between helping and interfering? That's the issue.
And Childline is just facilitating. Because they're in there with like-minded kids, adults telling them, oh, that's
Childline?
fine. Well, Esther set it up, but it's now been adopted by most of the children's charities, isn't it? NSPCC, yeah.
Well, we'll check it out. Meanwhile, Jeremy, it's time for your...
text from ITV.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Don't read it till later. Cornwall Council.
You're right, you're right.
You.
One of my favourite comedians ever was Jethro. Do you remember Jethro, a Cornish comedian? He talked bloody funny like that all the time down there. He said, you can't stop the train Wednesdays. Anyway, this is the most extraordinary... Whatever. I cannot... We talk about serious things like that, and we talk about, people being axed and Just Stop Oil. Cornwall County Council, right? I'm sorry if I'm going to explode, have actually spent money on producing either a video or, more importantly, training their staff, ladies and gentlemen, this is not BS, to turn a bloody light switch off. Is this the video that they use?
No, this is not the video that they use. This is one of many videos that you can find as an instructional video on YouTube, which obviously the Cornwall Council people may have looked at before they had their own instructions. Have a look.
All right, today I'm going to show you how to turn off a light. So you're in a room and the light is on, right? Every room there has a switch. Right here, this is a switch right here. You see this? The switch is up, right? So we are going to turn the light off. And so basically all you have to do is walk up to the switch, right? And then press this button for down.
Wow,
just like that.
There you go.
But it's very confusing because that actually is the wrong way around, isn't it? Because now I'm very confused how to turn the light on and off.
There's plenty more videos.
What, you mean it's the wrong way around?
You're watching the wrong videos,
Well, because it's American.
But on a serious note, in a world, the cost of living crisis, in a world where there could be a war, in a world where kids are making decisions and not being helped and their parents don't know, we're spending money on teaching people how to switch a light on and off. That's how mad the world's become. Here we go.
No, seriously, I wonder how often councils get audited for these kind of decisions that they make. Because I actually think, one of the banes of my existence is not the central government, which I have many issues with, it's actually councils, right? The fact that they're not fixing potholes. The fact that they just keep putting up the prices when the quality of our services are going to go down.
The leader of Cornwall Council, this is an alleged comment, is trying to buy a motorhome.
Very possibly so.
I could be totally wrong.
I could point him in the right direction. There's one for sale up in Scotland. If you want.
Is that right?
Motorhome
One
there.
careful owner.
It's currently in police custody, but you can get hands on it for about 50 grand.
Is it
Also,
owner?
the owner is still available also for interview at all times. The lights are on, but nobody's home in Cornwall. Coming up, what we're going to be looking at is a member of the royal family. Well, formerly a member of the royal family, and another Tory MP who isn't a Tory. This is Plank of the Week. There you go. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. I think we might have found a winner. Not sure. There's still time. There's still 3 to go, by the way. Esther, Krakue, who's your next one?
Very subtle. So the next one is a regular feature.
Yes.
I think he's probably the reason why you started Plank of the Week.
It could well be.
Prince Harry.
He is the winner of the last 2 planks of the year.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
yes, that's true, actually, yes. So Prince Harry, he's lost a court case to actually pay for his armed security when he was in the UK, because that was a privilege that he lost when he moved to the US with his wife, she who shall not be named. Now, the argument by the committee that looks after sort of the protection of the royals and sort of public figures is that you shouldn't have someone pay for security if it's not in the public's interest. So the Prince Harry was arguing that you can pay for security to, police football matches and all of that. Why can't I do the same? But obviously the argument is that's in the public's interest.
Also, he's not a football match.
Well, exactly.
I don't care how important.
Thankfully,
been kicked around a bit recently.
But
penalty.
Ravek was making the case that why should armed guards put their lives in danger to protect one person just because he can afford it, when they are doing that at football matches, for example, or for the royals.
Yeah, but that's a public order issue, isn't it?
Exactly.
Whereas with him, it's a personal thing.
Yeah, but he was making the case that she should be allowed to at least contest it, which I find very arrogant, actually.
It is arrogant.
I don't understand why you don't get this. You are a single person. You're no longer a working royal. You are not, protecting you isn't in the public's interest. Why exactly do you want this?
Well, because he thinks he's different to everybody else. He wants to be treated differently by
he
his
has
own
a different
family.
status,
He wants to be treated differently by the public. He wants to be treated differently by the press. And he wants to be treated differently by the police. Sorry, mate.
But does his
You're
wife,
just like everybody else.
Is it not because he's got his wife in his ear going, I must be important enough to have armed guards?
I love this.
To be honest,
I love this.
Harry, why can't we get the police to help us?
To be honest, I don't think his wife ever wants to come back to the UK. That's just what I suspect.
Sorry, can we change that? I don't think the UK wants his wife to come back to the UK.
Well, there's that as well. I think it's a mutual disdain.
I've said this, as long as I've been sat here about, I actually respected them for saying they wanted to get out of the goldfish bowl. If you land, you sign the deal, you make 100 million, and it's all about privacy and you're selling your soul. I'll tell you something I said 5 years ago. He annoys the bits off me now. I'm sure she is a major... He will be back in the United Kingdom within 5 years with his ginger tail between his legs. I'm telling you now, without his children, she will do whatever. And he has, I believe, cost himself more than just press or security or whatever. I think he's made major mistakes.
And also
in his
he's
life.
lost his family,
Well,
hasn't he?
I was just about to say he no longer has a family.
Well, exactly. And
But
also
I
when
do
you...
think-
Sorry,
I
I was just going to say...
He'll be reconciled. Sorry.
That's all right.
That's when he'll be reconciled with his family, when he comes back home.
The doctor will see you now. The doctor will see you now.
All I was going to say was that...
Wait for the lady doctor.
The lady doctor's finished.
Don't start waving your hands at me.
But she's
You've got a big stethoscope.
I certainly have, Jeremy. Anyway, moving on. All I was going to say is that when you look at the surveys in the States, that the majority of people in America want him out as well. So I think only 3 to 5% actually like him.
Well, this is the problem. I mean, he thinks that he is special. He thinks that he is different. He thinks that he deserves status that is completely and utterly not like anybody else. And yet, he doesn't seem to understand. I loved the paparazzi people in New York when they said, we fought a revolutionary war so that people like you couldn't go around demanding things from us.
We're not
so
living it.
get lost. And now, of course, that story has disappeared. Like all stories to do with Harry and Meghan. They have a sort of 24-hour news cycle, and nobody's now talking about it. Because it was not a near-catastrophic incident.
No, a near-catastrophic collision. And I did after that, and we all were slightly cynical, I think quite rightly. How would William feel that, again, their deceased mother's name was dragged? Yeah. I think they're appalling, both of them. And I don't want them in this country, but I tell you, he will be back.
He will.
And he will have to swallow. I would be very interested to know in 5 years whether the British public will have him back.
I don't think they will. And I think he was lucky to get away with what he got away with when he came back for the coronation. And imagine how kind of small-minded you'd have to be.
I still maintain that the coronation took place on May the 6th because they absolutely knew it was Archie's birthday and that fiendish woman wouldn't turn up. I'm telling you, I'm absolutely...
Well, in that case...
Right. Why would they? Oh, I tell you what, we'll pick the birthday of the kid. I'm telling you now.
I mean, these are people that rehearse and do military manoeuvrings in the middle of the night. But they didn't know it was his birthday.
Outside my window, so I can't sleep.
Yes, exactly right. Anyway, so it's your
so I to nominate Tobias Ellwood this week. Let me just explain why. So the Conservative Party, you may realise, isn't doing terribly well. It's about 12 to 20 points behind. In fact, it's not the Conservative Party, it's the Sapino Party, which is Conservatives in name only, or whatever it is.
Sapino?
Sapino, or whatever, I made it up.
What does that mean?
But anyway, I made it up. The point is...
Sino. Conservative in name only. Sino.
Sapino, Conservative Party in name only.
Conservative Party.
Yes.
Sapino.
Yeah, like that.
That's
anyway,
called,
so I interviewed Tobias Ellwood and he told me why the Conservative Party are going to lose the election. So I said, oh, wow, that's amazing. Is it because we have the highest tax burden in 70 years? And he said, oh, no, not that. Is it because... is it actually What?
Is this another clip of you
Yes.
on another show?
How does he do
How does he do this?
I'm very good. I am extremely good at this.
Sorry, I'm going to start putting my own clips in the show.
So, can I just finish? So, I then said, well, is it the cost of living crisis? Is it the fact we've got too many migrants that are coming across legally into this country? And he went, no. The reason we'll lose is because Suella Braverman has appealed against
So let me get this right. Not only do you come on this legend show and play your own clips, you then tell him to be quiet. You repeat exactly what's in the next clip, so you get a double whammy. This is just PR from David Ball.
It is.
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah. This is why there are not enough doctors in the country, because they're all on television.
Yeah.
I mean, there's two of them here, for heaven's sake. All right, let's have a look at what he said to you.
Polls are narrowing, but we have a Home Secretary stirring the right of our party with her People's Front of Judea moment, seemingly writing off our prospects of winning the next general election.
What is the People's Front of Judea?
So he's making a Monty Python joke, which is one for the teenagers.
A joke.
I suspect he wasn't even born when Monty Python's Life of Brian came out, was he?
Wasn't
He's been a very naughty boy.
He's been a very naughty boy.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not the Messiah.
I mean,
Go on. Well, he actually said...
For me, it was just an amazing moment where he just basically blamed the entire mess of the Conservative Party on Suella Braverman and her speech.
The right side of the party.
Yeah.
What is the Conservative Party
he's forgotten,
now?
actually, that the reason Suella Braverman's Home Secretary is because she's actually on the side of the party that got elected, as opposed to his side of the party, which was massively Ramonery.
100%.
When you say the right side of the party, it is actually...
That's
they
what I
are
mean.
They are
On the
actually
right.
Tories.
Yes.
They are, that's what the
they're
Conservative
proper
Party was supposed
Tories
to
who are actually a bit right-wing.
I watched that because obviously I always watch my TV husband when he's on. And I sent you a message.
Why aren't you dealing with patients?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Do they see?
They don't do any work at all. So when they're not on TV, they're watching each other. Right?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the deal.
Are we playing a clip of yours?
I think we've missed out massively.
Sounds like a strange fetish.
Yeah.
But I did send you a message, didn't I?
You did send a message.
Tobias Ellwood is vile. That was a vile thing to do. Absolutely vile.
Have you got any clips of you actually doing anything as a doctor?
Yeah.
How about that, as opposed to...
So you two are a TV double act,
Yes,
are you?
at weekends, yes.
You sound so fascinating.
Not really.
You should really tune in. It's very good, 7 to 10. Weekend breakfast.
You know what you could do? You could ring and say, I've got a bit of a pain in my left rib. What do you think it could be?
I'm sorry, I can't see you now. I'm on television. I don't want to see any patients. That's why the NHS is on its arse. Because all you NHS doctors are trying to make it in TV.
You could do the final hour as like a phone-in, like GP surgery phone-in.
We've talked about that.
Yeah.
Charge.
Yeah, no.
Charge. This caller costs you £1. ITV will get 90p. I mean, not ITV.
You're 33rd in the queue. Anyway, we're nearly finished, but we've got one more to go, and it's a Knight of the Realm, I'm afraid. People have asked me why this man has a knighthood. I can't answer that, but he's a right idiot. And we'll get to it coming up after this. Bank of the Week. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. We've almost reached the final furlong, and this is the time when we decide who's actually going to win this week. But before we do that, there is one more nomination that I would wish to make, and it is the leader of a party that up until now hasn't really been very interesting at all, not for a long time. The Lib Dems. Remember when they were in coalition government with David Cameron? And they were utterly useless. Nick Clegg made a promise that they would halt all tuition fees and then completely reneged on it. Has now gone off to work for Facebook, which is kind of bizarre, isn't it? Anyway, Ed Davey, Sir Ed Davey, is the new leader of the Lib Dems, and a man who has literally made no impact whatsoever on politics in his entire career. I don't really know what he stands for. I don't know what he does. But he's entered the, you'll be pleased to know, penis debate this week. He's entered the penis debate.
Has it entered him?
Well, I think he has one, but that wasn't what he said. He was asked, of course, as people are now, when they go on various shows, whether it's a TV show, can you identify a woman? Do you know what a woman is? Have you ever been with a woman? Any of that sort of stuff. Anyway, he was asked whether women can have a penis. And he said, yes, quite clearly they can. To which everybody just went, sorry? What on earth are you talking about? Anyway, here's a clip of him not talking about penises, but driving a tractor for no apparent reason. state of this lot, right? Those are the people that vote Lib Dem. They're cheering a man getting out of a tractor.
That is Just Stop Oil on their other job of the day.
Can I ask a really serious question? Because I haven't gone near this, and Piers does it every night.
Yes.
Genuinely. Yeah. How do you define a woman?
Adult human female.
Yes. An adult human female.
Yes.
If at the very least it doesn't have a penis.
It's really,
What is
really quite straightforward.
in a civilised and balanced way.
Has a vagina.
Is that really the leader of a political party?
Yep.
Sadly,
We talked earlier about our kids, about Childline, about the impact. What does that tell you? Oh, yeah, no, a woman's got a penis.
Yes, this is the problem. It's coming
They're
to
terrified. They're terrified of saying what everybody knows to be true.
Why are they scared?
Because they've got people in their organisation, in their party, who will castigate them, who will sort of send them off into the wilderness and say, how can you possibly be so insensitive to these blokes over here who haven't got a penis? What? And you don't know what they're talking about.
But I think they're worried about the lobby groups as well, aren't they? The fact is they're deeply concerned about what people say about them, what they think.
I think the British public wants honesty.
Yes, I do.
I think they deserve.
But that's why they're doing so badly in the polls.
I mean, if you came out and you went, listen, people transition and there are many people who are born in the wrong body. I got told off for saying that the other night. It's what I did it before in another life, and I spoke to many genuine people, and we should be helping those people. But there is a fad. There is and if politicians can't even answer that question, how the hell are they going to do anything else? I'd just be honest.
Because if that's indicative of how timid they are about something which is so obvious, that people, ordinary people, like Jeremy said, who vote in the rest of the country, who don't live in some bubble in London.
They'll go, he doesn't, they'll be going, these are
This is Starmer's problem in the north of England, is exactly that, because he can't tell you either. He thinks there's about 30,000 women in Britain who have got penises.
Yeah. I mean, Ed Davies is a very strange man. Like, just very strange. Like, to come out of a tractor waving like you know what I mean? He's very strange. But the thing is, people say, we get the politicians that we deserve, right? The reason why we have people like him is because we don't like to be told the truth. Because we have fostered a culture amongst our politicians of not speaking the truth because they're so scared of the outrage on Twitter, which lasts 48 hours. Or for having, for instance, the speeding ticket nonsense, this witch hunt against Llewellyn Brother, who I'm not even fond of. But it's such a distraction that, of course, politicians are going to lie because these are the kind of people that you elevate to positions of power. Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah, well, he is a Lib Dem, so he doesn't have any power.
Well, he might do.
Or any policies.
No.
Well, I was just going to say, his problem
or
is
any cojones. Or maybe he does. I mean, I'm not sure.
He might have. I thought you were going to say castrate.
I haven't got any castigators with me. But anyway, listen, it's time to award the Plank of the Week award.
Hooray!
There we are. I love that noise, don't you?
Yeah.
I think there's only one winner, and I'm sorry about this, and it's my nomination, because it has to be otherwise other people's nominations. But this week, no, it's got to be ITV, hasn't it? I mean, how can it not be? Sorry, Jeremy.
Prince Harry, though?
It has to be ITV. Okay. Well done. A Plank of the Week to you for the Philip Schofield mess, stramash, whatever you want to call it. We'll be back same time next week. Thank you to the two doctors, Dr. Renee and David Bull. Jeremy Kyle, thank you very much for staying in place and not getting up and walking out. Esther Krakue as well. No problem at all. Goodbye to your lawyer. Nadine Dorries coming next. This is TalkTV.
It's time for That Was the Woke That Was.
The topical quiz show that goes through all of the wokest stories of the week.
She has been fame hungry from the get-go.
Saturdays at 9 on TalkTV. History is littered with a long line of lovable but angry men. But one man rises above them all.
What just happened?
With Kevin O'Sullivan on TalkTV.